welcome back to my channel. This channel is for all the investor newbies out there to come and share ideas and knowledge together. And today's episode, we're going to talk about housing market in 2021 and what we could forecast in 2022. Let me get my trusty glasses because I am blind. Okay, better. When we consider housing supply in 2021, or according to Redfin, you could see that the housing supply falls to 1.38 million, which is the lowest that the housing market has ever seen in its history. I could stand by this as well, because I do a lot of research for my clients, and when they're interested in certain areas, I start to dig in. Usually you'll see, new houses popping out, left and right on pretty fair market for both buyer and seller. Nowadays, within past several months, I could definitely say that the supply has gone down significantly. I could probably see maybe one new house if I get lucky, every 10 days or so in Long Island area I'm talking about. So this is definitely a shortage that we are experiencing in this country. Next, we're gonna look into the housing demand. So if you see Redfin's research here again, it says that housing demand, over 60% of homes went off market within 2 weeks. This is absolutely true, hands down. As a real estate agent again. One of my clients went to go, see a house, and within 3 days it has multiple offers, and we were actually very close to the asking price, but the seller decides to take, another offer that was over their asking price. This is very common nowadays since the supply is very low, demand is very high. You'll see a lot of offers that is bought by the sellers that are thousands or even sometimes millions over its asking price. I could definitely say that according to my research with the tax accounting assessor of what the home and land should value as versus what the sellers are asking for, it's around 20 to 30% over asked in the areas that I'm working at. So definitely do your own research, but since this is the seller's market right now, buyers really have no choice but to, make their offer as strongly as possible, which means going over the above and beyond the asking price. When we look at all these factors, why housing demand is so high lately and the home supply is so short, the mortgage rate has been one of the lowest in history for a while now. And in 2021, according to Redfin, 30-year fixed rate mortgage rates bottomed out as 2.65% in 2021. The Fed is slowly deciding to raise their interest rate, but as of now, it's a very good market for buyers to get that good fixed 30-year fixed rate mortgage and buy a house. I did some calculations, and obviously according to your needs, you would have to do your own calculation. But usually, let's say like a house is worth $1 million and average mortgage rate tends to be around 4%. Even that over the years of 30 years of fixed mortgage at 4% of $1 million still does have a little bit of higher pay than the same house if they were in this market asked in the over asked price, such as 1.19 for 2.75%. It tends to be a little lower after 30 years of fixed mortgage. So I do see that this is a still last couple chance for people to lock in that low interest rate where the price isn't like as crazy. I know it's still pretty crazy, but I presume this type of growth happening within the next several quarters. So anyone who's looking into buying a house, start locking that rate and try to buy a house, but it is very difficult to purchase a home for everybody nowadays. And the Fed interest rate gets influenced by many factors, but we cannot ignore it's CPI, which is the Consumer Price Index, and also PCE, Personal Consumption Expenditure. Just for those of you who don't know what personal consumption expenditure is, let me just read your definition. According to Google, it shows how much household is spending and what they're spending on, such as some alternatives to less expensive goods. If it gets too expensive, such as in education, entertainment, durable and non-durable goods. When you're looking at real estate, you cannot, take macroeconomic component out. And when you look at PCE or CPI, that Fed, it presents periodically, you could see that a CPI has rose 6.8% for the past 12 months, ending in November, which was the largest 12-month increase since the period ending June 1982. So this is pretty wild. This number has not been seen ever since back in 1982. It shows that inflation is a legitimate concern. Let's look at unemployment rate. Unemployment rate, thankfully, has been, calming it down. Back in May 2020, according to U.S. Department of Labor, our unemployment rate was 14%, little above, which is crazy. But back in those days, that's when the COVID just started and people were panicking and there were a lot of job cuts, job losses. And Fed has been working, pretty well in terms of calming that down, putting the percentage down to close to 4%, 4.2%, I believe, as of November 2021. Thank God they are kind of calming it down, because one of the biggest factors that leads to stagflation, which is worse than inflation, stagflation is like when the inflation gets out of control and it's like a death cycle and you can never get out of, or it's very, very difficult to do. And one of the factors that does influence this is high unemployment rate with slow growing economy. High unemployment rate, this would have made people feel like they're more poor in this crazy inflation time. But thankfully, despite the CPI going 6.8%, which is still pretty high, our unemployment rate is thankfully not as bad as back in May 2020. That is a good news. What can we forecast with all this information for 2022? According to MarketWatch, housing inventory will remain limited, but not as bad as 2021. And they expect the inventory to grow by 6.3% on average in 2022. Another forecast that they did is housing market price will rise, but at a much slower pace than 2021. To wrap up, our housing market has been crazy this year. Housing supply has one of the lowest. Housing demand has been one of the highest. Mortgage rate has one of the lowest. At the same time, thankfully, employment rate has been, calming it down. And everything factors out our housing market to go substantially higher than what it is right now. So all the home buyers and home sellers buckle down, because I do see the housing market going down, not anytime very soon, but definitely within the next few quarters. So I hope this video was helpful. If you guys like this type of video about housing market, please hit the like button and leave a comment below, and I will see you next time. Thank you. Bye.